Are you set? Okay. We'll call the March 8th meeting of the Administrative Services Committee to order. It's 8:30. Roll call: Teresa.
Here.
Terry.
Here.
Matt.
Here.
Pam.
Here.
Gloria.
Here.
And I'm here. Eric is not here, and he told us why. It's okay. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of February 8th? By Teresa, seconded by Terry. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Any other discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes, any opposed? Minutes have been approved. Anybody sign in for public comment? I think I know everybody in the room, so I doubt it. Okay. There's no public comment. Any member comments? I would only add one thing. 6.1 through 6.4 and 7.1 are all eligible for executive session if there's specific things you want to talk about. If not, we can go to new business and talk about workman's comp settlements. You should have each gotten a separate slip that talks about what these things are. Our concern is that a lot of people don't understand or have not been exposed to the comp system before, and it usually is shocking when you see, a thumb is worth so many weeks of, or so much of a person, and that it's how the calculations are done. Is there, can I have a motion for 6.1?
So moved.
By Pam, is there a second? By Teresa. Any discussion about 6.1? If not, it's money, so we get to do a roll call. Teresa?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Gloria?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That takes care of 6.1. Can I have a motion on 6.2? Teresa?
I'll second.
And a second by Pam. Any discussion? Roll call again. Pam?
Yes.
Gloria?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Teresa?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That's approved. Could I do 6.3 and 6.4 at the same time? Would there
Sure.
be an objection to that? Matt makes that motion. Is there a second? By Teresa. Any discussion on either 6.3 or 6.4? Not seeing any. We'll go back to roll call. Terry?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Gloria?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Teresa?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That takes care of new business items. Consent agenda, 7.1 through 7.7. Is there anything that anyone would like to take off the consent agenda? Don't all
Motion
jump
to
in.
approve the consent agenda is presented.
Second.
All right, moved by Pam to approve the consent agenda 7.1 through 7.7, and seconded by Gloria. Roll call, Teresa. Oh, no, I'm going to start with Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Gloria,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. All right, gets us to reports. We have no other old business to take care of. Capital plan update. I never thought you were going to hear that fast, did you?
Yes, great.
You got just that much time too, by the
Yeah,
way.
don't worry, no, it doesn't give me more time, but that's all right. Sewage treatment pond, we haven't quite started with that. We're in discussion to try and get a mobilization date to finish off the last pond liner that we have remaining out there. Valley High Memory Care through design documents into construction documents. Right now, we're talking about reviewing budget options, how to handle some of the areas that potentially would drive the project over budget, and having those shown as options, and options that wouldn't impact the final project if we were to move forward without it. They would just have to be picked up at a later date. So those discussions are ongoing. That meeting today with Gold and with Mr. Anderella to review that. Salt dome roof, McDOT office roof, both of those are queued up. We do not have a start date for either. Pre-con meeting for the office roof, contractor felt April was in its range. The shingle salt dome roof, we do not have a start date, but we are pushing for an April start on that. We are going to out for bid for the purchase of, pre-purchase of the chiller equipment for the jail. There's a 300-ton jail that's 19 years old now. It's starting to become a bit of an issue maintaining it. It's no longer being supported by the manufacturer, and it's the only means to cool the jail. So the plan is we're out for bid for the major manufacturers. Going to come back to us with their solutions for this. There'll be hopefully several. There are some size constraints that might limit some of the manufacturers from being able to hit that size. From there, we'll bring back what we think is the best, makes the most sense, both from initial first cost, longevity, and power usage, or carbon reduction. Those will all be part of our qualification process with that. Joint training facilities kind of had a little bit of a stall with Cary. They were asking for some different details regarding fire separation there's a shaft that leads from the roof down to the lower level. Those have been worked out. So the actual work to begin rebuilding it will start next week. So that's been a 3 or 4 week pause while Cary and
This is the fire district that's asking?
Joint training firearm range. It looks like a mid-April right now. There's some discussions with Cary about moving some infrastructure that's in the general area of the construction site. So that right now looks like April. We moved forward with the phase 6 of the building envelope project. It was a good contractor, it appears. We've checked the references. They've done a lot of projects that take tight coordination. We have the public interface there. We're working over the main entrance of the government center. It requires a strong safety plan and a strong communication plan with us. So we're happy that contractor chose to participate in the project. That's about it.
Questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're up.
Alrighty, well, I was anticipating this would be a very long meeting and I probably wouldn't have much time to go over communication, so I've got a written report for you all. Oh my goodness. Fingers here. Oh, there you go. So, it has been a big month for county communications. We are, as of now, working on our communications strategic plan update. We have collaboration from the Department of Health, Sheriff's Office, Division of Transportation, Emergency Management Agency, IT, and of course County Administration, and we are all working together to develop a shared communications plan to help us map out the future of where we're going with communications. Once we have some ideas, we'll be bringing forward to the committee for your review and consideration. And that is in progress. We have also had a breakout strategic planning meeting to speak with the HR department and learn how communication staff can, assist in, with any recruiting messaging needs that they might have. We are also working with different elected offices on various campaigns. For example, you might have noticed that there have been a couple of good treasurer's campaigns going out. We worked hand in hand with the new treasurer, Kurtz, on a passport campaign so that the public can be more aware that there are passport services out there at the treasurer's office. And we also did another campaign regarding the senior tax deferral program that's also available. In addition, we are working with the county clerk's office to put out elections information. And we are also working with the VAC on our continuing video series regarding the different benefits available to veterans. That being said, we look forward to, in the next month, having a Historic Planning Commission video coming out, and we will be working with them going forward to make the public aware of all the good work they do. All right. As you know, you all saw the State of the County report, and we are proud to report that we had the largest Facebook post ever that went out on the county administration Facebook page. Over 53,000 people, or 59,000 people reached. So just saying, that's pretty awesome. And, at least for our page. And it resulted in a large increase in our following, 175 people this month, which is pretty unusual for us, you know. But anyhow, just saying, it was good. It was a good month in that way. Overall, though, I want to expand the reach that we have on our various platforms. I wanted to increase a bit more. We're not quite keeping pace with what it should have been this quarter, and I want that to increase, so we're going to be looking into that. Any questions, ideas, comments, thoughts?
Just again, a compliment. Really, really love what I'm seeing and the responses that we're getting from the general community. I think it's one of the best initiatives this board has engaged in, is really trying to communicate better and send good, positive stories out. So, you know, kudos to everybody on the team and everyone who's contributing, really.
Thank you very much.
And I was visiting an establishment all the way down in lonely D1 and had compliments about your whole program now, and they said we're finally hearing from the county down here. So that's good.
That's great.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Alicia, can you say more about the historic planning video?
Yes. So I've reached out to the chair has reached out to me to assist with a video that they've been working on. He needs a little bit of assistance when it comes to audio work, and maybe helping out with that a bit. I'll be working on that a bit more, and if they need any filming work, I'm not sure on that. I'd be more than willing to assist, as would other staff. So we can, we'll see we'll see what their needs are as we go forward. But right now we're working on one video.
Okay, great.
The brewery and mystery trail. I've gotten a lot of feedback on that. Found out that a bunch of my neighbors have been doing it to get a T-shirt. So
I'm sorry, the which?
the brewery,
Oh,
you know,
yes,
the
yes.
whiskey trail and all of that.
Yeah, that's where I ran into it too.
Well.
Everybody's happy about that.
Really, it's a lot of fun.
Well,
you
it's
know?
it's always wonderful to work with Naturally McHenry County, and they're fantastic as a tourism bureau, and all the different ways they find to promote the business community, and we're always happy to collaborate with them.
We want the private sector to collaborate to get a bus.
Well, thank you for those comments. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Pete?
I'm going to invite Cheryl up first.
Okay.
And maybe we had some miscommunication, I'm not certain, but I'd like to start having the HR director have a standing report, maybe just before mine, just because it's
Well, add it on the list.
it's the norm. She's always got good things to add.
Thank you, Pete. And I did prepare because when I did my report to you last time, I think it was a little overwhelming. I had a lot of data and I held you for a long time. And somebody said it'd be nice if we just got an update on a regular basis. So to get added to the agenda would be helpful. So what I have for you today is I went back and I looked at the strategic plan of the county board and looked at where do the activities of the HR department fit into the strategic plan. So that's how I'm going to try to present to you each time I come. So there is a strategic plan goal under organizational advancement, and it says develop and implement a county-wide staffing plan to enhance recruitment and retention efforts for quality and skilled employees. I read that without my glasses, so that was good. And then there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 action items identified. 3 of those action items I'd like to recommend the language be tweaked a little bit. For example, the first one, it says conduct a biannual compensation study. I'm not doing it twice a year. That's just too much work. So it should be conduct a compensation study every 2 years and make necessary adjustments to maintain a compensation and benefits program that is comparable with the regional market. So some of the things you passed this morning on the consent agenda is something we've been working on with, I think, 3 departments now. So we did something in the health department last year. I was working with DOT and then assessments. And that is, right now our system has very rigid slots that positions go into. And if that position is not vacant, you're never going to advance to that position until that other person leaves. And so you have really no career path. even though you may have gained a lot of experience and training and education and could function at a higher level, we have no slot for you. So that's what you're seeing as these departments come through, like DOT, their construction engineer. That's one you just passed through this morning. Assessments, the assessment specialist and the mapping specialist, that one you just passed through this morning.
We did environmental health last year.
And last year you did environmental health. So you're gonna see more of those, and the advantage to that is when people come in, we don't have to always put them at number one, because maybe we can get somebody who can function at a level 3. I asked Joe Kropolsky, I said, what would you do with 3 engineer 3s? He's like, oh my God, we wouldn't have contractors. We could do all of our own bridges. We could do this. And it would save a bunch of contract money. Same thing with Bob Ross. I asked him, what would you do if you had, more mapping specialist 3 or assessment specialist 3?
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, and again, he said he could function at a much higher level, much more efficient, and so much so that maybe they wouldn't need all of the 1s and 2s if they had, so they could actually potentially cut staff. So there's advantages of showing employees a career path, developing them, holding on to them so that we're not like the environmental specialists. We were training them, and then they would go to Lake County and get $20,000 more because we didn't have a slot for them to go into. So that's kind of a pattern of things that you've been seeing come across the table. Another one of the things that is in here is, I think it's in here, the health department. Again, one of the things that it didn't come across your table because it went through public health and it's going to go through finance and it's going to go through, but there's one that's coming through that you'll see at the county board, which is about bilingual pay. The health department has quite a few staff who really are required to speak Spanish because they work in the health clinics, they work with a lot of the Spanish-speaking population. It's a skill that they're currently not getting compensated for. We're asking them to translate, to do writing, to use medical terms, to translate at a fairly high level. And so they have been taking a resolution through their board and through the public
There was a
health.
public health on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a similar thing. It's really recognizing what are our people doing and how do we hold on to them. And so that one is one that's going through that. It didn't come across your desk here. So I don't know if you had any questions about that. Melissa is here. She could answer any questions on that. So that's that compensation and benefits, making sure that our compensation and benefits are appropriate. The second one, again, I crossed off using Chronos because some departments don't use Chronos. And I don't want them to think that because I don't use Chronos for my performance reviews that I'm not going to do this. So we're really pushing that they look and talk to people about training and development and how do we hold on to them, how do we keep them up to date on new procedures, new things in their world. We have tuition reimbursement and student loan repayment. We keep promoting it. Stay interviews is a new concept, and you'll be seeing a policy come through shortly. We did a book read with our supervisors on stay interviews, and the value that could add to the organization is huge. So the discussion of where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself? Why are you here? What do you want to learn?
Jill did one discussion group on Monday of this week, and you're doing another one on Friday.
Correct, and I may have to do a third one. The third one was strengthen the onboarding of new employees. Again, I crossed out every month because we have some people who are on like a 1.5 probation, and for every month that is really very heavy, so just I put in there regularly. But the onboarding of new employees and new supervisors, we've been building on those programs. Yeah.
Can I ask you not to just leave regularly, because I've been a regularly person. Can we do regularly, not less than something?
Yeah. I'll put something in there.
Whatever is practical. I want to give it a
Yeah.
distinct,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. conduct an annual employee survey. We do 2 annual surveys with employees, and one is in the spring, and it's really about the work environment and values and benefits. Out of that survey, we have made some significant movement in creating a work environment that's healthy. So much so that we just received a gold medal for mental health by the Mental Health Association. So
It's a national.
it's a national group. Yeah, so I'm really happy about that. And part of that, again, I really want to say is we put out this survey. An example is we put it out there and we heard feedback from employees about bullying. And we looked at that and we wound up creating a bullying policy, a bullying training. We trained supervisors. We gave them an avenue to report it. We've been resolving issues. And that's an example of what came out of that spring survey. And this Mental Health Association really liked that example of how we interacted with employees to identify issues and then come up with solutions. So the other survey we do is in the fall, and that's where employees can give feedback about how are the supervisors here at McHenry County? How are they working with employees? And out of that has come a supervisor training program, which the stay interview read was just part of that process. So the other thing is this intergenerational workforce. We have we went through, we had a trainer come in from MCC. We paid for them to come here so that most of our supervisors would be able to go to it rather than send them to MCC, and it was cheaper that way too. Out of that came an ad hoc work group to talk about, well, what does this mean to us? How do we address things? How do we become a better organization to work with 5 different generations? How do we do that? And so there was an ad hoc group. They've come up with a list of programs, which I'm not going to go over with you today, but it's something that I think, like mentorship program, and I think we should have a mentorship program. So that's something that we'll be looking at as we go forward. So there is a group that's working on creating a work environment that's great for all ages. Engage in succession planning. Again, I think the stay interviews will help us with that. Target recruitment effort to diverse populations. We really have had to diversify the way that we recruit. It used to be we put on our website and we would get 200 applications for an admin specialist. It's not happening anymore. So we've really had to diversify. How do we go out and reach populations to come work for the county? So we're doing a lot more community events, different websites. We're probably going to be at the farmers market. So we'll be out there at different job fairs. We're also doing a curriculum we're building for the high school so that we can introduce high school kids to what is county government and why is it a viable place to consider to work at. And then the last action that was in our strategic plan was routinely collect, analyze, and report data. Again, so in Peter's quarterly report, we always report our recruitment numbers. How many people did we recruit, position did we recruit for, how many did we hire, how many did we orient, how many left. So quarterly we do those reportings. In January, I came to you with that very detailed report that included wages, ages, genders, which could use some more conversation. And then we have to do that EEOC report when the government says, who do you have working for you and what kind of categories. So that's the kind of reporting we do. So that's just an overview of what is HR doing and in relationship to the strategic plan as it is written today. And I know you're in the process of updating that, so that's it, unless you have any questions.
So, back in January, our first meeting, I talked about maybe having a regular report of, similar to the one that you had sent me back in October. And you personally sent to me in October of the openings and the.
Oh, vacancy report.
Right. And I didn't know if we had decided like what interval the committee would look at a report similar to that.
Next month sounds fine.
But also, that would be interesting, potentially, maybe every quarter, just
Right.
an
Yes.
update, maybe not necessarily as detailed, but I think then, then we would know periodically, and it would remind us, to let people know. Are we also advertising that we do have the availability of kind of a flex schedule, work at home? I know that's very attractive to a lot of people.
Yeah, so it's one of the things, again, we talked about in the stay interviews is managers really need to know what programs we have. We have a lot. We have a lot of things available to employees, and are you promoting that as you interview people? In the actual advertisement, I'm cautious because they're not going to get a flex schedule until they've learned their job. And they're not going to be able to flex until they've proven themselves. And then it's up to the department head to make that decision. So I don't want to advertise
I hear, yeah.
something that they may not be eligible for because they need to work at a desk
Right.
to stay focused. Again, as Alicia said, we're talking about how do we begin to not advertise, but how do we begin to promote the county as this is a great place to work. The environment. So to start putting those general messages out there, so that when we do post a job, people are already like, I want to work there, and they're looking for us. So we're going to be trying to put more messages out there about what does McHenry County have to offer.
And just a comment, we just updated our handbook this week with a virtual policy. And again, it's not available to everyone. It's at the discretion of the manager. But it's the specifics of like the 2-3, which has turned out to be very successful. But things that, if it's in place, you've got to be on camera. You still have to be dressed. You have to be, available. I know.
Saturday Night Live did skits on that.
Because you never
You have
know
to be
when
on
you're gonna have
camera,
to
yeah.
show up somewhere anyway. But I don't know if that would be helpful to just.
We have a
Work from home.
work from home policy that
Okay.
when that employee is ready for that, we do have that option.
But we have the same
Yeah.
thing that you've had to go through improving yourself, and again, at that department and that manager's. But
Yeah.
now I need to see yours.
Yeah, we have a work from home policy.
Good,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
I don't know, have quite as many things to say as Cheryl, but I will say, first off, the elected officials and department heads are working with Kathy and I to put together a quarterly report for you, which we'll have at the committee of the whole meeting in 8 days. So you'll have a substantial bit of information to chew on. A couple of things I did want to note. We're continuing to work with the city of Marengo on their development efforts. They have a $27 million grant from the state to work on their water sewer issues, and that's coming fast. Their city will be holding an open house next Tuesday, the 14th. It's obviously anybody can go there. It'll be from 4 to 6, but it's really targeting the potentially impacted property owners where this water sewer path will traverse, and making sure that they're familiar with what might be and the implications there. So there's been a couple of direct mailings to that group, and I think Scott Hartman will be down there. Marengo's his old stomping grounds, and he likes to hang out down there. And I think Chairman Bueller is going to be swinging down there. I think probably Jim Kearns and Mike Scala may be visiting as well. But that's going to be going on next week. Also related to Marengo, Friday of this week is the next Enterprise Zone meeting. It'll be the first Enterprise Zone meeting where Marengo will have 2 seated board members. So the board is changing from a 5-member board to a 7-member board, and that is significant. And they're going to be talking a lot about the future and what does the Enterprise Zone look like, what it has been and how it's been working, and then potentially some modifications on the administration of the Enterprise Zone moving forward. Larry Smith is your Enterprise Zone member. We have 1 spot of the 7, and so 2 from Harvard, 2 from Marengo, and 2 from Woodstock, and 1 from the county there. Another kind of exciting thing that's taken place in the last couple of weeks is working with Adam Wallen and the Northern Illinois Land Bank and your treasurer, Donna Kurtz, kind of looking at some new ways to acquire distressed properties that are in arrears on taxes and vacant. This gets to be real tricky sometimes, and you see a cycle where, properties are distressed, vacant, not paying taxes, they're bought by a tax buyer, but then they declare a sale in error after 2 years, and they go back in this circle round and round. So we're working with the Northern Illinois Land Bank. Adam, we are members, the county is members, we have not used this yet. But Adam is on the board and worked with the city of Crystal Lake on 11 properties that may be potential for this, and met with the city of Woodstock last week to review 5 properties. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we can find a rhythm here and pull some of these properties out faster than the tax cycle and work on that. Shaylin Daigle, your county coordinator, has kind of been helping us there and communicating this tool with your city managers and the planner group that she has. So more to come on that, but I just want to kind of get that on your radar. Last week, I think we, Chairman Bueller and I and Scott Hartman and Melissa and Dave Christensen, we met with Senator Severson and Mercy Hospital. Mercy Hospital's got a small footprint in the county now. It's growing. The hospital in Crystal Lake is opening in July, and they would like to kind of expand kind of a portable doctor program where, some of these, depending on what kind of a call comes into the PSAP, there's an alert that a doctor may be going on the scene from Mercy. They don't have the authority to do this yet, working on that with IDPH, but it's interesting, and it was a good meeting. The Mercy Hospital brought several medical professionals with them to kind of present this idea, and we'll hear more about that in the months ahead.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That is a great
And I'm learning
public
about this. But when there's a call into 911, there's a code for a trapped-in vehicle, that kind of thing, and if Mercy's got doctors available that are mobile, they want to get out on the scene, they can really make a difference. And
would that be coordinated then with all of our rescue,
Yeah.
our fire and rescue?
Right. And it's not an additional cost to the patient. It's just something that Mercy's factoring into their charity care, I guess, or whatever they do. So yeah. We had some discussion at the last board meeting about the Soil and Water Conservation District and how they're relating with our Planning and Development Department and our ag community. Had a good meeting. Again, I think this was last week with Tracy Von Bergen, Larry Smith, Chairman Bueller, Tyler Wilkie, kind of representing the legal arm of the ag community, and talked through that. Some we're making some progress there, I think, on some ways to get that back on track. We will have more information for PED committee in the next round of meetings. So I think those are my main things. I mentioned I'm going to have a written report for the committee of the whole. Final thing I want to mention is May is the time for the evaluation of my position. That's coming pretty soon. My hope and intent is at your April meeting, a month from now, I'll have kind of a self-evaluation of my last 12 months. That'll kind of kick things off. I'll kind of walk through that with you guys, assuming I can get all that together, and then we can move into May and hopefully knock on an evaluation of me. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Questions? Future topics, I don't know if we put down your report, but I was only half kidding. If you want to come back and part of your HR report next month and tell us about what we have for available spaces, that would be a good spot to put it. Any other future topics that any board members want to bring forward? Right. We had executive sessions set up to go over minutes from January. We're not late with those, and we don't do those today because I don't think we need to go through settlement claims and contract negotiations. That's the reason we had the other there. I would suggest we hold that off to another month, unless somebody really wants to read the minutes from last month, or from 2 months, 2 months ago now. If that's the case, I'm ready for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
By Pam, seconded by Terry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we made it in 35 minutes, folks.
That's faster than I actually